Just 1 minute ago, Cebu woke to streets underwater, families lining up under ripped roofs, and entire neighborhoods still trapped in blackout. This is the aftermath you saw in the title. The Philippines struggles after Typhoon Kalmaegi, true impact revealed. 11 centimeters of rain in just 3 hours, nearly 140,000 homes without power, and urgent questions rising. How long before the basics, light, water, roads, return, and what hidden risks still threaten as another night falls? Kalmaegi's center now sits northwest of Cebu, with the official warning cone still stretching across much of central Visayas. The latest graphic from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, JTWC, valid at 1500 UTC, places the eye just over 115 kilometers from Cebu City. The Japan Meteorological Agency, JMA, and the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, PAGASA, confirm overlapping hazard zones, which means northern and central Cebu remain under threat even as the core moves away. On the ground, this hazard cone is not just a line on a map. It is a living boundary. Inside it, winds can still snap trees, and rain bands keep flooding streets that were dry just hours before. The uncertainty area mapped by JTWC and JMA covers barangays now reporting the worst outages, including Mandaue, Liloan, Talisay, and Upland Cebu. PAGASA's 2300 bulletin keeps wind signal number 4 active for northern Cebu, warning that the tail end of Kalmaegi may still bring sudden gusts and flash floods through the night. This pattern is driven by what meteorologists call training bands. Think of a conveyor belt in the sky, lines of thunderstorms rolling over the same spot again and again. Rather than one single downpour, neighborhoods get wave after wave, with barely a pause to drain away. Each band reloads the hills and rivers, raising the risk of landslides and keeping floodwaters high long after the wind has eased. The science is simple but relentless. As Kalmaegi moves, its spiral arms drag moist air from the sea. When these bands hit Cebu's mountains, the air is forced upward in a process called orographic lift, squeezing out even more rain. That is why the hazard cone is not just about wind. It marks where the atmosphere is set up for repeated soaking rain. For families inside the cone, the risk map matches daily life. Streets that turn to rivers, power lines down, and the hard question of when it is safe to step outside. The latest agency maps, all time-stamped and sourced, show why so many people are still waiting for the all-clear. With the cone's edge still touching Cebu, every hour brings new uncertainty. Will the next band pass or stall overhead? The answer shapes how quickly power, water, and road crews can get moving, and when recovery can truly begin. Power is the first thing families look for after a storm. In Cebu, blackout numbers are more than statistics. When Visayan Electric reported a 28% outage at the peak, that meant 140,000 homes lost electricity. That is refrigerators warming up, asthma machines going quiet, and entire neighborhoods relying on flashlights and candles. For many, it also meant no way to charge phones, no way to check in with relatives, and no easy access to news from outside the flooded streets. Relentless is the only word for the rain that drove these outages. PAGASA, the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, confirms some neighborhoods faced extreme rainfall rates, with bursts likely reaching over 100 millimeters in 3 hours. That is more than a month of rain in a single night for parts of Cebu City and Mandaue. Floodwaters pushed up to the second story in Bakayan. Residents there say it is the worst they have seen in 35 years. In Mandaue, water climbed from ankle to chest level in under half an hour, trapping families until rescue teams arrived. Every outage, every flooded street has a ripple effect. When 140,000 homes go dark, food starts to spoil. 4 major hospitals in Cebu City switched to generator power as the grid failed, with staff rationing fuel and volunteers scrambling to keep medicine cold and incubators running. Water supply followed the same pattern. Metro Cebu Water District issued rolling advisories as pumping stations lost power, leaving 65,000 service connections dry or with low pressure. Boil water notices spread across 7 barangays, and bottled water lines formed outside clinics and evacuation centers. For commuters and workers, the impact was immediate. 21 roads and 5 bridges went underwater or were blocked by debris, cutting off access to markets and medical care. At the airport, over 1,200 passengers waited through the night as flights were canceled and the runway disappeared under floodwater. Ports across central Visayas sheltered more than 4,700 stranded travelers and drivers unable to move supplies or return home. Now the questions are urgent and personal. When will power return to neighborhoods still in darkness? Is the tap water safe to drink tonight, or do families need to keep boiling every drop? And with rain bands still circling Cebu, will the next burst stall overhead and bring another round of flash floods before morning? These are the answers everyone is waiting for, as the city holds its breath. Kalmaegi's latest advisory, timestamped 1600 UTC, places its center well northwest of Cebu, but the city's lifelines remain under siege. As night falls, more than 500,000 people across Cebu and nearby towns are still waiting for power to return. Power crews are working, but outages persist. Visayan Electric's crews have worked through rain and darkness, rerouting around blocked roads and flooded substations. Their priority is hospitals and water pumps first, then neighborhoods. Priority is clear: keep critical services running. Engineer Marielle Lorzano describes a shift that began at 1 a.m. Her team was forced to detour for 2 hours after finding North Substation under half a meter of water. "We worked feeder by feeder," she says. Hospitals needed power by dawn. Other blocks had to wait. Radios replaced phones when the cell signal dropped. Water is a second front. The Metro Cebu Water District's rolling advisories have left 65,000 connections dry or at low pressure. 7 barangays remain under boil water orders, and bottled water lines now stretch outside clinics and evacuation centers. For many, clean water means rationing what is left or boiling what comes from the tap, as power-dependent pumps struggle to restart. Water is running short for daily needs. Communication is patchy. PLDT and Globe report up to a quarter of cell sites still offline, especially in upland barangays. Emergency teams have set up portable towers at evacuation centers, but coverage is thin beyond city centers. Families cluster around charging stations at malls and city halls, sharing sockets and news, waiting for updates. Patchy coverage slows reunions and relief coordination. In Balamban, the district hospital runs on a generator with just enough fuel for another night. Chief Nurse Marites checks the gauge. If the next delivery is delayed, incubators and refrigeration for vaccines will be at risk. Volunteers have already made one dawn run for diesel, threading through debris-choked side roads. Every hour now is a race to keep the essentials running until the grid returns. Orographic lift turns Cebu's hills into rain magnets. As Kalmaegi's humid air slams into mountain slopes, it rises and cools and drops more water than lowland areas ever see. That is why the same barangays, Bakayan, Banilad, and upland Mandaue endure flooding even after the wind weakens. Meteorologists call this orographic lift. Air forced up by terrain, squeezed until it rains harder and longer, with little warning. This simple physics explains why rivers crest fast, and why landslides can hit even after the sky clears. 3 scenarios now shape the next 72 hours. First, the likely case. Rain bands fade, rivers slowly fall, and power crews reach more neighborhoods each day. Second, a plausible risk. If a feeder band stalls overnight, flash floods or landslides could return with little notice. Third, a rare but serious threat. If Kalmaegi's core shifts back over warm sea, gusts and a sudden surge could hit coastal barangays again. Each possibility depends on radar trends, river gauges, and the typhoon's next move. Warning signs everyone can track. Watch for radar bands parked over the same area for more than 3 hours. Check if river levels keep rising after midnight or if high tide and onshore winds line up. Green flags include weakening rain bands, faster storm movement, and official updates showing more homes with power and water restored. Quick answers to urgent questions. Clear sky does not mean it is safe. Floods and landslides can lag hours behind the rain. Only drink tap water if Metro Cebu Water District lifts boil water orders. Calm weather but no power or signal means crews are still checking for hazards before restoring lines. Never drive through water deeper than 30 centimeters. Damage can be permanent, even if the road looks passable. As of November 5th, 2025, power remains out for over 140,000 homes in Cebu, and some barangays are still under boil water advisories, according to Visayan Electric and the Metropolitan Cebu Water District. The documentary has shown how Typhoon Kalmaegi's slow passage and training rain bands brought more than 110 millimeters of rain in just 3 hours, causing widespread flooding and damage across central Visayas. Crews from the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines and local teams have restored electricity to key hospitals, and they are working to reopen roads, but the timeline for full power and clean water remains uncertain. Official agencies continue to monitor river levels and landslide risks, confirming that even as the skies clear, hazards may persist. Not every question can be answered today, such as the total economic cost or the exact date when all services will resume. What is proven? Early warnings, coordinated evacuations, and frontline response have saved lives. The eye moves on. Recovery is the work of days. Preparation buys time.